I'd like to introduce our head football coach, Karl Dorrell.
This was a unique experience for me. This was a dream come true. We decided years ago that Colorado was going to be our home to stay when it was all said and done. I did have that inkling in the back of my mind, though, that my fondness for this university and getting a chance to be in this position would be a dream. And it came true. I want to just share my story as to why it's so important to me. I came here as an assistant in 1992, worked for Bill McCartney, and I know in his way of teaching me early in my career was these players, you got to make sure that you coach them, that they trust you and believe in you. So my story coming here and getting a chance to work for a wonderful coach and wonderful players was very instrumental to my makeup as I grew as a coach. There's nothing better than being on the grass. I love football, I love coaching the game. I love coaching the basic elements of the game. That's the best part of coaching to me is being in the one-on-one scenarios on the field and really developing young men. It's really important that you have a great connection with the players. That's first and foremost. But I think when it's all said and done, have I impacted enough people? Which is what I'm here for. My parents are from the East Coast. My dad grew up in the Bronx in New York, and my mom actually grew up in West Virginia. Right after they graduated from high school, they got married. He went into the Navy and started their journey. We moved to San Diego in 1969. My dad was gone a lot with tours of duty and Vietnam, things like that. For a good bit of time of being raised, it was really solely with my mom. She raised all 7 of us at one time in the house, and it was governed by her. She did rule with I call a strong arm. You know, she kept us in, the football during football season, that went into basketball season, that went into baseball or track season in the spring. So, that was kind of her method to her madness, was to keep our kids, all these kids out of trouble, is to put them in sports.
The glamour and pageantry that surrounds the Helix High School athletic tradition has long been epitomized by the award-winning Highlander Band. Tonight, on a cool December evening, they would lead the way into Diego Stadium as their football team went after a CIF crown. Karl Dorrell also had a big year, coming up with key plays like this crucial scoring run versus Granite Hills. The big win over the playoff-bound Eagles was one of the great moments of 1980. Dorrell was the club's second leading scorer.
High school football was a dream. When I went to Helix High School, we won 2 CIF championships, on the varsity level. I remember the end of my junior year, a few letters would trickle in, and I think my first official letter of being recruited was from Idaho State University. When that occurred and I had that first letter, it kicked me into working harder. I had a number of choices to go to school. I was really blessed. I wanted to stay on the West Coast. I did end up going to UCLA.
And now, the home team, the UCLA Bruins, take the field. Karl Dorrell, number 8.
My career at UCLA was tremendous. We won a lot of games, we had a lot of success.
UCLA's flanker, Karl Dorrell.
We've been to 3 Rose Bowls and won.
Karl Dorrell makes the grab.
I accomplished really a lot that I set myself out to when I was a student athlete there.
Fires a Hail Mary into the end zone, and it's a touchdown, UCLA!
I had been at UCLA a few years, and I got to be great friends with Karl early in his time there.
Intercepted earlier, throwing it left side, man open, first down.
Karl was stoic, ultra competitive, but very little said. It was more about actions than words.
Karl Dorrell, just a sophomore.
I remember the Rose Bowl. We got into that game, and Karl put on a show.
Some action. Well, there's one of them will be back. Karl Dorrell. That's going to be tough next year.
I remember vividly a third down early in the game, and Karl came out of the huddle, and the call was for him to run a post. We're down in the red zone, and he looked at me and he said, "Post, corner post." And normally I would have said, wait. But I had such trust in Karl that I just nodded, got it.
Eliza looking for more, and he's got
That ball came out of my hand, hit him perfectly, he caught it perfectly, and the touchdown celebration was on. And that gave us, I think, a 21-3 lead at the time, and the rest, as they say, is history.
good protection. Open again, that's a touchdown. Dorrell, his second of the game. And fourth by Neuheisel. Terry Donahue deserves a great deal of credit for the success that his team is enjoying here in the Rose Bowl this afternoon.
You know, a lot of those, people that were in my path were instrumental, with me so what I am doing today, particularly Coach Donahue.
There goes Donahue onto the shoulders.
Coach Terry Donahue was, he just recently passed away. He was so significant for me and my success, with, how he helped bring me up in his program as a player. He had a father figure type of relationship with all of us, but a very encouraging way. He actually opened my eyes and gave me some confidence and some insight about going into the coaching profession. I went back to UCLA after my short stint with the Cowboys. I was working part-time in the athletic department in the business administration area. Coach Donahue needed someone to kind of coach the receivers for a couple of weeks. So he asked if he could borrow me in the afternoons. And I just remember after that spring, he says, "Karl, I think you can be a really successful coach. I think you can really grow in this profession." It really shed light to me about, wow, this might be something that, I might be good at. After that year at UCLA as a graduate assistant, I went to Central Florida. I went back towards the West Coast and went to Flagstaff, Arizona to be the offensive coordinator at NAU. And then I got note of an opportunity to get a chance to interview at University of Colorado as a receiver coach under Bill McCartney. And I had a chance to work with some really dynamic players here at the University of Colorado my first couple of years. Guys like Michael Westbrook and Charles Johnson. I left there in 1994 to be the passing game coordinator and receiver coach at Arizona State under Bruce Snyder. I did recommend to Coach McCartney at a time that if they're looking for a receiver coach, I know of a guy that I played with. He was my quarterback at UCLA, and his name was Rick Neuheisel.
I got to interview at Colorado, which would later, 1 year later, result in me being the head coach. And when I became the head coach and was putting my staff together, I went after the game immediately to Karl's house, and I said, "Come on, we're going." Karl became the offensive coordinator on my first staff, and as we said, we were going to drive the car and drive it fast. And we did. We won 20 games right out of the blocks.
The boy, touchdown, Colorado. He's in, touchdown.
So when he moved to Washington, I had to go with him because I didn't have, the chance to stay and be an offensive coordinator here.
And I remember while at Washington, Karl and I were talking that Mike Shanahan had reached out to him. And while I hated to lose Karl Dorrell, I also knew that him getting into the NFL, especially with a guy like Mike, was going to be a tremendous opportunity for him.
Karl came in '99 as an intern, and at the end of the '99 season, I hired Karl to come in and be the wide receiver coach. Karl came in 2000, 2001, and 2002 and did an incredible job for us.
You know, Mike Shanahan was a big impact on my career. First of all, he's given me my first opportunity to be a full-time assistant, but also he's such a great offensive mind. A lot of the foundation of what I learned and do as an offensive coach, you know, he was a big part of that.
He was a guy that expected a lot of you, but he expected a lot of himself. So I think both Ed and Rod and all the receivers loved him, the way he handled himself. When you have a coach like that that understands people, especially playing the position, you knew you were very fortunate to have a guy like him.
Really what kind of inspired me to get into coaching was the opportunity to be the head coach at UCLA. It was a great experience for me. It was hard at times, like most things. We had some success. Wish it was probably more of a dominant success, but it wasn't at that time. But it was definitely a great experience for me that I've learned from, that helped me, you know, really on that second phase of my career, which was going back to the NFL and coaching.
In the right cover, they're low. That's what we got. That's great, buddy. You recognize it, you saw it. That's good.
You know, I had a chance to work with Bill Parcells and Tony Sperano, you know, in Miami. From there, I went to the Houston Texans, and I got a chance to work with Gary Kubiak. You know, also the fourth team would be the New York Jets.
Zebra, zebra, zebra. Just gotta hit it. We'll hit it.
Very fortunate and blessed to be along some really great coaches in my career, you know, that have done tremendous things not only for themselves, but, you know, I'm one of the examples where they've impacted me in a number of ways too. It happened pretty quickly, and it was definitely, I believe, on the Lord's timing. Something has stirred me inside that this is where I'm supposed to be. Each day I drive into work, I think about the beauty of what I have, you know, and how blessed I am to do what I do.
And just play to the best of your ability for your teammate, for the guy next to you. You got that? We got something.
I think our players, they understand that we're for them. You know, they understand that I'm for them.
Come out here, flying, let's finish this game. Got it? Let's go!
You know, you're hopeful when it's all said and done that you've impacted enough people.
Don't you feel we got something special going on here?
This game is that special because it does affect lives. It creates those bonds, it fortifies it, it gives it a history. You build long-lasting relationships because of the process. That's what this great game brings, is there's a unifying bond that's never broken. That's what I'm excited about, is building this place to reach its potential where it was once before.